The morning light seeped weakly through the thin curtains as Elena rose again, her movements automatic and slow. The weight of yesterday's weariness still clung to her like a heavy cloak. She dressed in the same warm brown dress, pulled her coat tight, and stepped outside into the cold grey dawn. The streets were familiar, the same worn cobblestones glistening with dampness from overnight mist. People shuffled past her, men and women, bound for factories and workshops, face drawn tight with fatigue and resignation. Their voices were muffled under the steady drum of footsteps and distant whistles, all moving forward in the endless grind of the town's routine. Elena's gaze drifted to the buildings lining the streets, the soot-blackened bricks, the narrow windows fogged with breath, the faint glow of lamps burning through the morning gloom. Nothing changed. Nothing ever seemed to change. At the factory gates, a steady stream of workers spilled inside, and Elena slipped into the throng without a word. The machines roared to life, and the hours stretched on, monotonous, grueling, unending. The faces round her blurred into the sea of sameness. Some glanced her way, attempting a word or a smile, but Elena remained distant, wrapped in a dull fog of her thoughts. Each day was a repetition of the last. The clatter of looms, the hiss of steam, the relentless ticking of the factory clock. Time moved, but it moved without purpose or hope. Elena's heart beat in quiet protest, but her body obeyed, locked into the pattern of survival. Days blurred into weeks, each one folding into the next like pages in a forgotten book. Then came a rare day without labor, no factory whistle, no clanging machines. Elena found herself drawn away from the grey streets and soot-covered walls to the outskirts of town, where a small lake shimmered faintly beneath a pale sky. She walked slowly along the muddy bank, her breath misting in the cool air. The stillness was both a balm and a torment, stirring memories she tried so hard to lock away. The laughter of children echoed in her mind, bright and clear against the quiet ripples of the water. Her legs weakened, and she sank to the ground, damp earth cold beneath her fingers. The tears came then, silent and bitter, tracing paths down her worn cheeks. All the grief, the exhaustion, the unbearable loneliness collapsed in a single shattered moment. Elena buried her face in her hands, the world shrinking to that lonely lake and the weight of all she'd lost. The endless march had faltered, if only for a breath. As Elena sat on the cold damp ground, her tears drying into streaks on her cheeks, she sensed movement nearby. From the mist, a tall man cloaked in dark fabric emerged, his hood shadowing his face, but unable to hide the concern in his eyes. He approached slowly, careful not to startle her. His voice, soft yet deliberate, carried the gentle manners of a long past time. "Are you feeling quite all right, ma'am?" he asked with respectful concern. Elena's gaze shifted away, settling on the rippling water at her feet. Her voice was low and steady, edged with fatigue. "There is no need to trouble yourself with me." The stranger nodded, seeming to understand the walls she had built around herself, yet he lingered, an unspoken promise of something more amid the fog of her solitude. "I couldn't help but notice your quiet strength. May I ask where you once saw teacher?" She blinked, surprised. I was, yes, but that feels like a lifetime ago. I'd heard whispers around town, but never found the right moment to speak with you. I'm sorry if my approach startles you." "It's unexpected," she admitted. "I come with an offer, if you'll hear me out. There's a land beyond the hills, far from the factory smoke and endless fog, a place where someone like you could teach, guide, and build a new life. It's not easy, but it's free. She was quiet, considering a new life. You deserve more than this endless march. If you're willing, I can help you get there. For a long moment, Elena sat silently, her eyes fixed on the distant hills beyond the lake's shimmering surface. Her mind swirled with doubt, fear, and a faint glimmer of hope she hadn't dared to nurture. Could she really leave everything behind? The town, the factory, the endless march? The stranger said softly, "Take your time. I can wait for your answer for a few days if you need." Elena looked up sharply, catching the kindness in his tone. Yet before he could finish, she rose abruptly, her voice steady though trembling slightly. "I will go." The words surprised even her. She knew deep inside that nothing here would change if she stayed. This was her chance for freedom, for life beyond the grey. The stranger nodded, a faint smile touching his lips. "If you have truly made your decision, then come to the station at dawn tomorrow. We will be waiting to leave together, no turning back." He paused, his voice steady but gentle. "It will not be easy, but it will be worth it. A new path awaits you, Elena." She met his gaze, the weight of her choice settling in. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt a flicker of something precious. Hope. Elena stood before the worn door of her small home, the evening shadows stretching long across the cracked wooden steps. The silence inside was thick, heavy with memories. She hesitated, fingers brushing the cold handle before stepping inside. The room, sparse, threadbare curtains, rickety table, few belongings she had managed to hold on through years of hardship. Her eyes fell on a small cluster of toys, faded and chipped, left forgotten on the floor. They belonged to her children. With a trembling hand, she reached down and lifted a tiny wooden horse, its paint peeling but still sturdy. She held it close, the weight of the years pressing against her chest. These were the pieces of her past she couldn't leave behind, not yet, at least. Sitting down slowly on the worn chair, Elena cradled the toys in her lap and let her gaze drift around the room one last time. What else was there to take? Nothing but ghosts and echoes. Her mind wandered to the days ahead, the uncertain journey, the promise of a new life far from the smoke and clatter of factory. Would it change her endless march? Could stepping away from this place breathe life back into her weary soul? But beneath the flicker of hope, a sharper pang stirred, guilt. What would it mean to leave her children's graves behind? To walk away from the ground that held their memories? The thought weighed heavily, a thorn twisted deep in her heart. Yet, as she held the wooden horse, a quiet certainty settled within her. She had made her choice. Staying here would mean endless days of grace, silent suffering. Living was her only choice. Not just to survive, but to live. The night deepened around her, but Elena's resolve burned steadily. Tomorrow she would take the first step toward that unknown horizon.